Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of My Future Energy Career. My name is Jalen, and today I will be interviewing today's STEM hero, Janet Moreland. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Jalen.
Yeah, so Janet is a recycling specialist at the Riverside County of Waste Resources. And without further ado, please tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do as a career.
All right, thank you. I'm a recycling specialist with Riverside County Department of Waste Resources, and we do several things here at our department. Our primary goal of our department is operating and maintaining the landfills so that they're safe to the environment and they're a great place for us to store all of the trash and waste that we no longer want. And we're trying to prolong the life of our landfills by encouraging residents and businesses to recycle more of their materials.
Awesome. So, in terms of expanding the lifetime of our landfills, what's some advice you could give to people at home other than recycling as much as they can?
It's kind of a challenge. At least I like to think it as kind of a recycling game. I'm always challenging myself as to trying different ways to recycle more materials, to purchase less. So I'm not, generating more waste and recycling that has to be taken care of. To take that collection just a little bit further, we developed a green cleaning program. So a lot of times the materials that come into the hazardous waste program are cleaning materials. And so we developed a green cleaning programs to where residents can actually make their own cleaning products from things that they have in their pantry at home, like vinegar and dish soap and things like that. So it makes a safer product to use in the home, and you don't have any hazardous waste to dispose of, and you're using materials that you already had in your pantry that you already purchased. So I think that's kind of a fun thing, one of the fun things that we do.
Yeah, moving forward, we will move on to where you're from.
So I grew up in Riverside, California. It's in Southern California. We are located east of Los Angeles. I basically grew up here from a little girl. When I was in high school, I was on the swim team and tennis team, and I was elected to our local student government in high school as a recording secretary. So that was a lot of fun to kind of get involved with programs at the school directly. As in student government, we got to actually have a voice and help make some of the decisions on recycling programs. One of the things I remember, I started having this job, I start thinking about ways that recycling's kind of influenced my life. And one of the things we would do, because there was a lot of trash on the campus, and it was just blown trash or drop trash that the other students would accidentally drop. So we started going around at lunchtime and picking up trash and that was blowing around, and just kind of made our campus look really messy. But it was a great way to actually get around and talk to some of the students and say, hey, come on, this is our house, this is our campus, we need to keep it clean. And it did make a difference. So after I went to college and worked a couple of jobs, then I married my husband Todd, and we have two sons, and we still live here in Riverside.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And I really enjoyed your piece about how you got involved with your own high school. And I'm wondering to students out there who would like to get involved with their school about waste management and recycling, what advice do you have for them into getting started into that project?
You talk to whether it's at your school or maybe a group or organization that you belong to. It all starts with a conversation. You've got to start the conversation and talk about, hey, this looks bad, or it's poor, or I think we can do a better job about, to get more active. And it starts off with simple steps, small things, and get a group together and start talking about different things that you can do, get different ideas, and then get some help and direction from one of the leaders or teachers, or maybe a principal or a scout leader, and they help you make a more effective program, and then you just proceed forward and go for it.
Yeah, really great advice. Thank you for that. And moving forward, we will go into some of your interests.
So I like to sew. When I was in the fifth grade, it was the summer, and I made my first shirt and pair of shorts. There was a matching set, and I was just so proud that I could make my own clothes. My grandmother had kind of taught me how to sew by hand, but this was the first project I made actually sewing on a sewing machine. I had some help from my mom. So sewing was something I liked to do. And then one of the things I love to do is working in my garden. I love to have fruits and vegetables. I like to grow succulents because we're in Southern California, drought. I like to have all the different textures of plants and colors and different blooming plants and things. And the succulents don't take a lot of care. They don't take a lot of water, and they just give such a nice impact. I've got, here it is winter, and I've got all kinds of different colors in my garden just from the foliage from the succulents. And that kind of also led me to another love of mine is my dad in our garden when I was growing up. We always had a compost pile. And so I learned how to compost. It was one of our jobs, one of our duties as a member of the family to work in the garden, you know, pulling weeds and cutting back plants. And we always had a pile in the corner of the yard where we piled up the material. And he said, that's going to be compost. At the time, I really didn't understand what it was, but now I do. As a gardener, the nutrients that plant material as it's breaking down puts nutrients back into the soil, increases the soil health so that my plants can grow much better, more earthworms, more aeration in the soil. And it's all from garbage that would normally have been put in a garbage can and disposed of. We kept it on our property and made something better of it. And then here I find I'm in that recycling industry where we teach composting as some of the programs that we have at the department.
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear that one of your hobbies that your father taught you about composting actually interconnects with your job now. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And we'll move on to your educational pathway.
So I went to school at Arlington High School in Riverside, attended Riverside City College where I got my Associate of Arts degree. And then from there, I went to Cal Poly Pomona to get a Bachelor of Science in Business Marketing. And it took me a little longer to get my degrees because I was trying to work at the same time. So I had small class schedules. And as soon as I started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and I could see that I was getting close to getting my bachelor's degree, it was just awesome. And I was like, you know, I got to stop working. I need to focus on getting this degree so I can get on with the world and things that I want to do. So that was a big thing to see in my life. And seeing that accomplishment, I think, is always exciting for everybody. And then I worked at a couple of different jobs between there. And then I started volunteering. The Riverside County had there was an article in the newspaper that they were looking for people to volunteer to help teach composting. And I was like, I know how to compost. This would be really easy. I'd love to do that. So I signed up to be a volunteer, and they had a training course. It was, I think, 6 Saturdays where we met. So I learned a lot more about composting, and then also about teaching it and speaking and doing presentations in front of the community and groups of residents that wanted to learn more about composting. So that kind of led me into being in the right place at the right time to become a recycling specialist with my Bachelor of Science degree and having that extra education I got by volunteering for the department. It really helped me in my job as becoming a recycling specialist.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a very valuable and enriching experience at that volunteership. And moving on, we'll talk about some experiences you had and some challenges you had to overcome.
So to get here, I had to learn. I had to have my bachelor's degree. So for the recycling specialist job that I have, one of the requirements was a bachelor's degree. And So another thing that I needed to do was learn about California's recycling regulations and how they pertain to the local residents as well as businesses in California. And we're seeing all of those recycling regulations evolve for the improvement of California and the world, really. One of the things I needed to improve when I was starting off was my correspondence and being able to write letters and notes and email communications. You have to be very descriptive and, very focused on what you're writing and when you're trying to communicate with somebody, because sometimes you don't have the opportunity to talk to them and your communications are always going to be written. Computers and technology, that's always a challenge, to be able to be up on the latest electronics and technology. And then continuing education through conferences, seminars, and webinars.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And so we'll go into some more advice that you have to offer our students.
So I wasn't a really good reader when I was a kid. It felt as though there were some stories and things that I enjoyed reading, but then a lot of it was assigned reading that I wasn't always that interested in. And I think it was when I really started gardening and cooking and becoming an adult, I really had a desire to read more, and I had more freedom, and freedom to read what I wanted to read. So start earlier, find the things that you're interested in, and start reading magazines, newspapers, books, anything you can on the topics that you're interested in. And I think that kind of will help lead you to a path towards that interest, and maybe you can find something that's going to work and help you with your lifestyle and focus on where you want to go and what you want to do. Volunteer where you want to be or where you want to work. What led me to being a recycling specialist was my interest in being a volunteer for the county to help teach other residents about composting. I wasn't getting paid for what I did. It was just something that was very important to me. And I wanted to share that knowledge with other people. And it certainly helped me with being able to speak in front of groups. And, they have an interest in hearing what you have to say. So it's nice to be able to be with people who have that common interest. And while I was there volunteering, I got to know some of the people with the department. And when they had an opening at the department, they said, "Hey, you might be interested in this position. I think you would might work out for you." But when you get to know people that are in the field that you want to be in, you have the opportunity to talk to them and find out what's coming up. And then learn about careers related to something you like to do. That's follow your passion if you can. Sometimes our careers are not what we really have the passion for. But if you can find that, it's really special, and it gives you a little bit extra drive to get out there every day and do your work and make something better in your daily life that's going to help others.
Yeah, thank you. Some more great advice coming from our STEM here today. I really enjoyed how you mentioned how important reading is in all avenues of education. And I do realize that in school, students do get assigned readings that they don't really find passion in or don't really have a keen interest in. And I was wondering, do you have any advice to those students who are struggling, trying to stay focused in subjects that they aren't particularly interested in?
Yeah, it is. It is hard to do, but it's like a key that's going to unlock the door once you are able to start understanding those difficult bits, which are important to your reading assignment that you may get from your instructor. You've got to look kind of past the uncomfortableness that you might have right now, and look at the long-term goal as to why that is important to read, and find out what the carrot is, what is so important in that piece of material that you're reading that's going to help you in your schooling and also help the community.
Yeah, awesome advice. Thank you so much for sharing. And for our last section, we're just going to go into a little Q&A. It sounded like you're pretty driven and you knew what you wanted to do from an earlier age. And I just wondered, do you have any advice for any students out there who are currently struggling in finding their passion and how they should go about exploring what really makes them passionate about what they're doing?
Think about the things that give you pleasure during the day, things that when you're sitting there trying to figure out what you're going to do on the weekend, what is it that you like to do? And then, then maybe that's a research project. So you need to look into what makes you happy, what you would like to spend 8, 9 hours a day doing. And do a little research on it and look into things that are local to your community. Let's say that you like pets. Maybe you want to be a vet or a veterinary technician, or it could be anything like designing the right food for animals and pets or better foods. But you find your passion. What is it that you like to do? And then start thinking and looking at the different opportunities that may not be just the basic thing that's right in front of your face. You want to look out and see what other things are out there that may be of an interest to you, and then start moving in that direction so that you can educate yourself and hopefully find or develop a career that's going to take you down that path where you want to be.
Awesome. Great advice once again. Well, I just want to take this time to say a big thank you again to Janet for coming on and sharing your educational and career pathway with this My Future Energy Career webinar.
Thank you, Jalen. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that there's a lot more questions coming too.
I would also like to thank our viewers for watching. We hope you enjoyed this webinar. And if you're looking for any more webinars like this one, go on to YouTube and search up My Future Energy Career.